Hello, everybody. Okay, what? Technical difficulties. Give me a moment here. All right. Let's see. Stay. Stay. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Monday night mini medicine card reading. I am Patrick, your friendly neighborhood shaman. Welcome, welcome. Where did I put my pencil? Oh, man. Awesome. Thank you for joining me. We're going to do some card readings. I see I've got people on here already. Awesome. So we've got Kim and Anna and Kenzie. Yay, you made it. And Sylvia and Tiffany. 1, 2, 3. Holy crap. We almost got our 6. So welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining me. As I said, I am Patrick, your friendly neighborhood shaman, and we are going to do some medicine card readings. If you are new here, the way this works, I have room for one more, and all you need to do is say yes in the comments, and you'll get a 1-card medicine card reading. And if you aren't one of the first 6, or you're watching this on repeat, all you need to do is choose a number between 1 and 6, and then pay attention to that card when it comes up. And even though it may be technically aimed at someone else, I promise you that Spirit has this wonderful, beautiful way of weaving messages together, and you will get your guidance in that card. You will hear exactly what you need to hear. So thank you for joining me. My only request for watching is if you would please share my video. You can share it on your own social media. You can share it to someone else. You can email it or whatever, but I'm trying to expand my influence, which is why I am here on YouTube rather than on Facebook where I started. I just recently started expanding onto YouTube, and so you can help me out find more people by sharing my videos and liking my videos. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. I don't know how algorithms work. I won't pretend to, but I hear that the more people that subscribe and like and all that kind of stuff, that it makes it easier for other people to find me. So all of that is very helpful, and I thank you for that. So welcome, welcome. If you're coming in late, we're doing 1-card medicine card readings. And oh, hi Marco, awesome. All right, we've got our 6. So if you're still watching and you want a card, all you need to do is choose a number between 1 and 6, and then pay attention to that card. And I promise that Spirit will weave whatever you need to hear into whatever that person needed to hear as well. So, awesome. So let's get started, huh? And I've been putting these, I used to put on, some of you that have been following me a while, I would put on like a stream, with bird song in the background. And then I started doing these. They're technically cat videos for cats. Because you still get the bird song and you get to watch the birds. So I don't know if it's more helpful or distracting. You can let me know. But, all right. So card number 1 for Kim. All right. Awesome. So Kim, your card is Blue Heron. Um, and Blue Heron is about stillness. Blue Heron is about alignment. Um, I know I did a reading for you recently, and I can't remember if Heron came up or not, or if we talked about it. It feels like I did. But, um, Heron is one of the best hunters in the animal kingdom. But unlike most other hunters, he doesn't have to stalk his prey or run it down or seek it out. Heron, um, Heron stands in stillness in the water, and they can stand there for literally for hours, just standing still, and they've got those tiny, tiny little legs, and so like they barely make any ripples on the water. They don't disturb the water, and so they can stand there. And when they do move, they move very slow and very gracefully. But in essence, they cast a shadow on the water, and that the fish are drawn to the coolness of Heron's shadow. And so his food comes to him by being in alignment, by standing in stillness, embodying his power, being that bridge between heaven and earth, right? His feet are in the mud, in the earth, his head is in the sky. And by being in that alignment, everything he needs comes to him, right? You don't have to chase. In fact, if I'm doing a reading and Heron comes up in reverse, that to me, the visual that comes along with that is like Heron has lost his patience, and he's like, why isn't anything coming? I need to chase it. And so like, if you can imagine this, I mean, they're prehistoric. They're huge birds. They're like as tall as I am. They're like, and you imagine this, 5 to 6 foot tall bird down in the water, splashing around, chasing the fish. They're not gonna. That number one, they're dredging up all the mud and stuff from the bottom, and so the water's becoming murky, and there's waves and foam and just messy, like basically. Basically, rather than having this clear vision, it's like throwing all this crap on the windshield of the car or whatever, you know. And so this is actually a validation for you that you have been doing. You have been, how do I put this? You have been more graceful than you think you have been. That you have been acting with grace, that you have been more in alignment. And to pay attention when there's stuff going on and it's not working out. A lot of times we'll take that situation and blame that situation for how we're feeling all mucked up and everything at the time, when it's actually the opposite. When you notice that the things aren't working out, rather than knuckling down and trying to push through and force the issue, the thing to do is like, oh, I'm pushing too hard. That's why that's not working out. That's why the answers aren't coming. So I need to sit in stillness, call back my power, sit or stand in alignment, and allow those things to come. And you'll notice that when you move from that place, that's when the synchronicities happen. That's when answers come out of the woodwork, right? It's like when things start to click along, it's not because you pushed and forced and contrived those answers. It's because you've surrendered to the flow and become, you know, um, there's been a lot going on in my life lately that's kind of bringing me back to Taoism and the water course way, right? The path of least resistance. And um, that's kind of what this is about. It's like you are part of the creative matrix that is the fabric of this universe, right? There is, this is gonna might sound weird to some people, but there is no objective reality. My reality and your reality are totally different because my reality, my world that surrounds me reflects everything that's going on inside of me, which is different than what's going on inside of you, right? And so I use this analogy all the time. It cracks me up. It's kind of like we think of the world as like a Barbie dream house, right? It's this building, it's the structure that exists whether we're here or not. And then we come along as the Barbie or the Ken dolls that are walking through that structure. Totally disconnected. The structure can be there by itself, the dolls could be by themselves, but it's more like a Rubik's Cube where we are interwoven into the very fabric of the world. Everything we do, everything we think, um, everything that we feel affects the world around us. We are that intimately wired in and connected. And so when we try to set ourselves apart from that matrix and think, oh, we're just this observer and there's this objective world going on in front of us that has no connection to how we're doing, then that's how we gum up the works. Because we're meant to be part of that equation and we're the ones that are basically creating what happens by standing in alignment like here and allowing the waters of the world to flow, allowing the flow and the rhythms to carry us with them. You know, and it's that whole thing, like if you go back to the Bible and the whole thing about, you know, God giving humans the dominion over the earth, and we take that as we're in control and we're dominant and we, you know, like the world is a resource and we're separate, and it's, you know, it's like that whole idea of domination, of control, of conquering is so, I'm choosing my words carefully. Um, it's easy to say wrong, but I don't want to use that word. It's off the mark. It's like opposite what is actually true, right? Um, and so this is a great sign that you are actually getting into the groove. You're finding your groove, right? Things are starting to show up for you, and you know, it's, I have like a personal thing. I had a just yesterday and last night I had something I was wrestling with, and the harder I clamped down trying to figure out what was the right thing to do, the more chaotic and the more chaotic things seemed, the worse I felt. And it wasn't until I surrendered to it that I surrendered, and rather than trying to figure out logistically and logically all of the factors and take everyone else and the whole world um, into consideration, I had to sit, surrender, align, and see what my heart felt. That was my authority. And so I decided not to follow through with this thing that had me all ramped up and tied up and anxious. And it was in letting go that the answer came so clearly that no, this is just not the time, right? And I don't know if some of you follow me on Instagram or on Facebook, but when I was dealing with all of that last night, I went down to the river like I do a lot. It's kind of my church. I take my sacred pipe with me. I do ceremony down at the river to do my own alignment, to align with spirit and the earth. And I'm sitting there in ceremony, meditating, talking to my guides, and I hear the sound off to the side of me. So I open my eyes, I look over, and there's a deer standing, this doe, just standing right there on the edge of the river, just looking at me. And I gently got my camera so that I could get a video of it, but we were looking at each other probably for a good minute or so before she finally just nonchalantly just started turning around, and she kind of looked back, and then she just kind of strolled off, no hurry. And it was this total Taoist, like, don't push the river kind of thing. It was, deer medicine is about that gentleness. And just before that, I was talking to White Buffalo Catwoman, who's one of my main spirit guides, and she was telling me, you have to be more gentle with yourself. You need to ease up on yourself, right? Get out of that self-judgment and be gentle. And I opened my eyes, and there's the embodiment of gentleness standing there staring at me. And then when I got that message, like, okay, gentleness, those wide eye, inner child, like eyes of wonder and curiosity, not judgment and dominion. It's like, okay. And then I got the message, and she just turned around and just walked gently off. And it was the most amazing, miraculous thing. So good for you. It's like you're going in the right direction. You're learning. You're doing better than you think you are. And it all comes with, rather than pushing and doing more, by, I always like to say, I don't remember, there was a cartoon somewhere. There was like someone on the ledge, and the people underneath, someone underneath was yelling, don't just do something, stand there. Because usually they yell, don't just stand there, do something. And they were yelling, don't just do something, stand there. So don't just do something, stand there. You're the center, the universe, your world revolves around you. And so it's coming to that center point, that 0 point, coming into your heart, where it all just kind of opens up, and what you need comes to you. You don't have to push it. You don't have to force it. You're part of everything, right? We are nature. We're not just part of nature. We are earth, fire, water. Which one did I forget? I didn't do it in the normal earth, air, fire, and water. I didn't do it in the normal thing that I rattle off sometimes, but that's who we are, right? You are part of this world. You are a part of this universe. You belong here, and you are an intimate part. And just like the Rubik's Cube, every action you take, every movement you make affects the entire cube, the entire world. And so, like I like to say, like I like to make sure, I always make sure that when I go to bed at night, there's at least a little bit more beauty in the world than there was when I woke up. Because that beauty, like the Rubik's Cube, it affects the entire cube. Every bit of beauty I bring into the world, or I see in the world, affects the entire world. So I hope that's helpful. This is a definite thumbs up from the universe. You're doing it. You're doing it. Awesome. All right, card number 2 for Anna. You're so welcome, Kim. I thought that heron had been in your, you know, another thing. Like when I was down at the river the other day. Um, I see like there is a blue heron that lives down there, so I see blue heron quite often. But, but there's also a green heron that lives down there, and they're still rather big, but they're smaller than the great blue heron. They're a little bit smaller, and they, though they don't stand in the water with stillness like great heron does, they still, like, they don't chase their food. They will get something like a bug or a piece of bread or something, and they'll kind of blow it out a little bit into the water, and then they'll pull it back, and then they'll spit it back into the water for a little bit, and then they'll pull it back, like they're fishing. They are literally fishing. They are baiting, calling the fish to them. And so it's kind of that, like, act smarter, not harder kind of thing. It's like you are the center, and everything you need comes to you, and the means to bring what you need to you will always be there. So you're so welcome, Kim. All right, card number 2 for Anna. Oh, cool. All right, card number 2 for Anna is Buffalo. So Buffalo Buffalo is basically about abundance, right? But the thing we need to adjust is a lot of times when we say abundance, our minds go straight to money, right? But um, abundance is so much more than money. Money is an illusion. Money doesn't actually exist. It's an agreed upon mental construct. But money itself doesn't exist. So um, it's part of that abundance, and it is a tool to get what we need and to relate and trade, you know, with other people and stuff. And just like and it's called currency, just like the river with currents, it's meant to flow, right? It's when we get the people, I won't go into like all the billionaires and stuff, but it's like when people start to hoard that money so that it's no longer flowing, that hurts everybody because it's meant to be currency, right? But beyond money, abundance is everything you need, right? Like buffalo was the lifeblood of the Plains Indians. Everything they needed came from buffalo. Buffalo is basically the one-stop shopping. They provided clothing, shelter, food, tools, everything. And so that's your abundance, right? If we narrowly think of abundance simply as our bank account, then we are cutting ourselves off from that natural flow. And like I used to go to Ramtha. I don't know if people know who Ramtha is, but I used to go to the Ramtha school for a short time. And one of the things that he used to say that stuck with me is, don't manifest the money for the shoes, manifest the shoes. So don't work on manifesting the money, Manifest what it is you actually need. Money is a tool. Money is a means to get to what you're wanting. And so if you focus on manifesting what it is you want, the money shows up. It's kind of like putting into a GPS system, like, okay, I want to go to this destination, but I'm just gonna make it, take me out just within a mile or so, and I can walk the rest of the way, right? Why would you do that? And so it's like focusing on what you want. And the fact that he's coming up again, right side up, is kind of like there's a flow going on, there's a connection going on. And that might be kind of the theme tonight. There's always a thread running through these cards. And it might be that flow of abundance. It's abundance. Abundance is family, friends, home, food, love, joy, experiences. One person, Wendy Penny, who is a cartoonist. You just go to comic conventions and stuff. She drew the Elf Quest comic series, if you know what that one is. And in the early days, they didn't have a lot of money, but they always made sure that they made it to the comic conventions because, how do they put it? Basically, you can always make more money, but you can't get experiences back. So don't shortchange yourself by focusing on the money and manifesting the money. Like if you have a choice between money and an experience, always go for the experience. You will be so much more wealthy, so much more well off, because it's experiences that help us grow, right? It's from experiences that we grow, not money. And so if you can have an experience, and the thing is, it's all provided. If you are meant to have a specific experience, here's the thing, the universe will make sure you get it, right? If there's something coming up, you're like, God, I really want to do that thing. I really want to experience that thing. If that is truly in alignment with your purpose, with what you're meant to do, then you can let go because the universe will provide the means to get there. Again, like with Heron, you don't have to push. If it's meant to be within your realm of experience, it's going to happen. Sometimes later than sooner. Sometimes, like I had a session with a friend this morning, and she was talking about the, divine timing. It's like the timer hasn't popped on the turkey yet, right? It's like sometimes we think we're ready for something, but that timer hasn't popped yet. It's not quite time. And then by the time that thing happens, we're like, oh, okay, yes, I needed this other experience first to fully appreciate this one that it led to, right? The other aspect of Buffalo medicine that I'm feeling nudged to talk about is the whole thing of like where buffaloes versus, say, domestic cows, right? When a storm comes up, domestic cows will run away. And because of that, they're more likely to get caught in the rain, in the winds, and it's bound to last longer because they're running with it. Buffalo, on the other hand, will turn their heads into the wind, into the storm, and they start walking. Because they know, I mean, they're basically a mountain of flesh. they know that the storm is temporary, that they're going to get through it, and that nothing is going to arise that is going to bowl them over. And if they walk into the storm, they will come out the other side sooner and easier than if they fight the storm and try to run away from it. And so that aspect of Buffalo is kind of this gumption of like, well, using myself as an example again, like with this thing I had going on last night, it would have been easy to try to avoid it, to try to run away from it, ignore it. But it was like, nope, this is happening. And, you know, and in a world where there are no accidents, everything happens with a purpose, then it was like, okay, this is something I need to experience. This is a storm I need to go through, you know, and storms, you know, I don't mean to talk about it as if storms are evil or bad. Storms are what helps to clean the air, to wash away the gunk. And so by coming through that storm, by facing into it, as hard as it was, as painful as it was, as, you know, white knuckling as I was going through it, I came through the other side cleaner and more solid than I was when I went into it. And because anything you can face, you can handle. Because like I said earlier, you are the center of your world, of your reality. And there is nothing that can be in that world and reality that is more powerful than you. There is no one and nothing in the universe that is more powerful than you, that can take you out. You are an eternal spirit, an eternal soul, temporarily clothed in space and time, but there is nothing of this temporal world that can truly stand against you and rub you from existence, because you will outlast. You have been here since before time began. You will be here after time has ended. There is nothing that can destroy you. And so it's kind of that, okay, let's light this candle. Like, this is coming up right now. There's no better time than the present, because if I avoid this now, I'm still going to have to face it. I'm still going to have to go through it at some point. I might as well do it now, because when it comes back, it's going to be even stronger, because I already moved away from it once. And so it's going to come back with more of a fury. And so again, this is a thumbs up from the universe saying that you're taking the bull by the horns, right? Kind of like the old, what's the Mediterranean, for some reason I can't think of the Mycenaean. I think it was the Mycenaean people, where they left all the mosaics on the floor and the walls of the women dancing with the bulls, and they like run up to the bulls, literally grab them by the horns and somersault up over them. It's like you're dancing with the bulls. You're dancing with buffalo. It's not this hard and like head to head trying to knock each other out. You're actually in the flow, dancing, leveraging that abundance for your benefit, vaulting up and over the storm. I love that imagery. I love those images. It's a beauty. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Google it. There is like some of the most colorful, beautiful artwork from the prehistoric times. Well, I guess it's still historic. Was that in BC? Because it's in the Mediterranean Sea and stuff. I need to brush up on my history again. I love all of that stuff. So anyway, Anna, I hope that's helpful. Again, thumbs up from the universe. It's like you're not shying away from things. You're facing them head on. And when you do that, when you face your inner demons face on, you're already, just by facing them, you're already undermining their power over you, because their main power is like smoke and mirrors, right? They seem bigger. The more you run away from them, the more power you give them. And so the bigger, more shadowier they get. But when you face them, they lose some of their power just by your looking at them, right? And what I'm really starting to get in my own life, in my own path, is that it's not so much about fixing things, but just becoming aware of them, looking at them, perceiving them, being aware of them, and just that being aware of them is what what takes the power out of them, and they dissipate. Kind of like, I actually drew a comic one time about inviting your demons to tea rather than to fighting them or running away from them. It's like, oh, come on in, guys. How's chamomile sound to you? Could I have cream with mine? And by inviting them in, there's nothing scary anymore, right? And because all of those fears, all of those issues, all of those challenges are younger parts of you that didn't get the attention or the approval or the love that they needed at the time, coming forward to ask you for that, to become the adult that you needed when you were experiencing that. And there's so many of our, inner demons that are so out of proportion because they were born out of a child's mind. And instead of diminishing as we mature, they just get bigger because we're not taught to face them, or to heal, really. So we're dragging all of those shadows with us. So good job. All right, card number 3 is for Kenzie. Yay, I'm so glad you could make it. All right. So Kenzie, card number 3 is Turkey reversed. And before you're like, oh crap, why is it reversed? What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? There's nothing wrong. In fact, everything is right with the world. You are exactly where you're supposed to be, dealing with exactly what you're supposed to deal with. It can't be otherwise. Like Abraham Hicks says, you can't leave your path. Every step is on your path. No matter what that looks like or seems, every step that you're on is your path. And Turkey is so interesting because Turkey, in a way, is very similar to buffalo medicine, in that, just like the stories of the first Thanksgiving, however they happened in real life or whatever, Turkey has traditionally been the giveaway bird or the giveaway eagle, and she is seen as an actual embodiment of Mother Earth. And so Mother Earth, as that mother that nurtures you, that gives you everything she has. And so when they realized that Turkey was providing so much for them, having not read the Bible, being caught into that whole dominion thing. They saw her as their, teacher or sister relation. And so, as you do with family, if someone is good to you, you support them back. It's not like, not in a transactional way. Not, okay, well, you gave me this, so I'm going to give you that. It's more of that infinity loop, right? It's like you give and you receive. I give to you, and then I receive support back, and it's that beautiful reciprocity where it's the mutual benefit, right? Because this world is, we tend to be dualistic in our minds and think of the world as an equation, and the haves and the have-nots, and that someone has to sacrifice their stuff so that someone else can have more, when it's more of, when we all do better, we all do better, right? The flood, the tide raises all ships. I'm gonna have to come up with some. I keep using the same analogies and stuff. I need to come up with some new ones sometime. But it's like that. It's like the better you do, the better all of humanity does. Like I was talking about earlier with the Rubik's Cube, right? And so with Turkey in reverse, one of the messages is, so this is I hope you guys don't mind me talk about myself a lot, but one of my big experiences with Turkey was I went on a vision quest a number of years ago, and my big question was if I was ready to do this work full time, and it was like the second day of the quest when this whole, like a half dozen or so turkeys paraded past my site, my campsite, and I just burst into tears because the message I got from that was that the world was safe for me to give my gifts. There was enough space for me to give my gifts and to receive back the support I needed to continue to give my gifts. Does that make sense? And so I feel like right now it's a matter of self-appreciation. It's kind of like you're being called to really to look at your gifts, to look at your talents, to look at the uniqueness that you bring to this world. And instead of waiting for others to validate that and make you feel worthy, to move forward in that sense of worthiness, because you are worthy. And it's kind of that idea about, instead of transforming yourself to fit into the world, it's like being who you are and allowing the world to transform to fit you. And it's that thing that so many of us go through, that, we're so weird. We're so weird. We're such odd ducks, and we stick out so much from society that we're afraid to share who we are because it's not acceptable to the mainstream, etc., right? And so we dim down our light to try to fit into a square peg. But all that does is diminishes us. And like I said, if it's diminishing you, it's diminishing all of society. If it's not lifting you up, if you are not joyous, then you're you're underestimating your own value and your own power, and you came here to shine. You came here to share your gifts, not to hide them, and not to find the acceptable places for them to be. It's like you're meant to be a trailblazer, right? Kind of like they say, if you're walking a paved road, that's not your path because someone else has already been there. You have a unique path home to source, to spirit. And in order to follow that path, you need to trailblaze. You need to blaze the trail. No one else has been there yet because no one else in the world has ever been like you, and no one in the world ever will be like you again. So your only responsibility is to accentuate those gifts and to share those gifts and to allow the world to transform around you, right? And it's hard. It's hard to see it that way because the world is scary and the world is unaccepting and the world is full of trolls, right? Um, but it's kind of like there's that quote from Mother Teresa that I just love about, no, if you're kind to people, they're gonna think you have an ulterior motive. Be kind anyway, right? And it's like there's all these different things she talks about, you know, being kind, being loving, and all of those things. And at the end, it's like, because it was never between you and them anyway, it was always between you and God. And so it's like being authentically you, unapologetically, not asking permission, because those unique gifts that you have, the reason they're unique, the reason no one else has them, is because those are the gifts that you brought to share the world. Because if you don't fit into this world, you came to change this world. And those gifts are what the world sorely needs. And so follow the path that makes you soar, that makes you feel joyful, that makes you feel worthwhile. You know, don't depend on the opinions of others. Don't depend on the validation of others. Because the more, it's like, even I think Picasso that said, you know, it's only by sharing our gifts that our gifts improve, right? Like you don't do art to hide it in a closet somewhere. You do art to shine. You make music to move people's hearts, etc. And so by holding them back, you're denying that light, that joy, that beauty from the world. And the world sorely needs that beauty that you have to share. That, yeah, it's just exactly like what you just wrote. It's so draining. Your job is so draining. Um, but then trying to figure out how to expand is so exhausting. I know exactly what you mean. Um, but the thing is, so here's the thing. If we go back to Heron medicine, etc., you don't have to figure it out. You're not the one who knows all the ins and outs, the intricacies, intimate details of the universe, all the connections that need to happen, all the networking, all of that other stuff. That's not in your wheelhouse. Just focus on doing what brings you joy. Focus on what feels good to you, what you are good at. with the intention that the universe will back you up. And like that quote, that quote I can't seem to stop quoting lately from Joseph Campbell about when you follow your bliss, where there were only walls, doors will open. And so just keep following your bliss, doing what you love, right? I'm trying to reparent my inner child who wanted to be a cartoonist, right? So I'm kind of in the same boat. It's like I have decades of comics that I have drawn, and a lot of them are on my blog, drawingbreath-comic.blogspot.com, and so you can read. I think I've got close to 20 years or 15 years worth of comics on that, and that's not all the comics I've drawn since I was a kid, but they haven't really gone anywhere because I keep feeling unworthy, or I don't know the path, I don't know how to do this. And so my focus lately has been just on drawing the comics. I'm drawing every single day. I'm doing what I love. It's like the two things that I am passionate about, that I lose myself in, is when I'm drawing comics or when I'm in the woods. Those are the two places where I feel so totally aligned that, like, I'm no longer there. I'm limitless. I'm like, it's not me anymore. It's me. And so my intention this year is for reparenting that child that wants to be a cartoonist, who is a cartoonist, and opening the door just by following that bliss, allowing the universe to bring to me the opportunities I need to get my comics out there, to publish them. Not from an ego place, like I want adulation, I want people to adore me or whatever. No, it's like, because when you're an artist, it's like a circuit. And if you're not, you create your art, but if there's no one to see it, then it's kind of like a short circuit, right? You need that follow through. The circuit has to be complete. It's a circuit for a reason. And if you cut that off someplace along the circuit, everything goes dead. And so I'm trying to open up myself to that circuit and allow the universe to open the doors that need to be open for me to fulfill my purpose, because the more than, getting published, actually earning a living, doing my art, etc., kind of like my shamanic stuff where I'm being supported in doing this work that I love, will give me the more space and more time to be creative, to create more, to grow in my art, and not just regurgitate all the things I've been doing, but to continually grow and expand, and to provide nourishment in that way through my art and my comics, because a lot of my comics are about my shamanic path, and there's a lot of stuff in there that I think people would enjoy or that would help people. It's not just, non-consequential little things that I draw. Some of them are pretty deep. Anyway, so it's like, follow your passion, follow your bliss, and trust that when that timer is right, the turkey timer is going to pop, and that door is going to open. I've taken to doing vision boards. I actually just created a vision board. Oh, it was right here. But anyway, I've got a number of my guides have been calling me to travel to a bunch of these different places, power spots, etc., to do pipe ceremony and stuff. And so I actually started making a vision board of photos of all these various places so that I can actually see it, and that inspires me which opens the door for the universe to come in and bless me with the means, and then it inspires me even more. And is that continually filling up your cup, right? So I hope that is helpful. And I am really, really loquacious tonight. All right, so card number 4 for Sivia. All right, Sivia, card number 4 is dog in reverse. And dog is really, well, just like all the stories of dogs, of man's best friend and all that kind of stuff, that loyalty, right? Dog Dog has probably the biggest heart of anyone in the animal kingdom. You know, how a dog, every time a new person comes along, a dog will be, I want to meet them. I want to meet them. Throw the ball. Let's play, right? Dogs just, for the most part, innately love everybody. And everybody is seen as family, right? And you can kind of see that as the inner child. You know, fear and hate and all those kind of things are taught. They are not natural to us. And so it's kind of like uncumbering ourselves. Like they say, there are no bad dogs, just bad dog owners. Because dogs are naturally loyal. And the thing that I was getting at was, as I was saying that, I remembered seeing a meme somewhere about like kids who are abused. It's like they don't, like abusive parent. If a parent is abusive to their child, the child doesn't hate the parent. The child starts to hate themselves. And that's kind of that inner puppy. Not that you're hating yourself or anything, but there's a sense of being taught worthlessness, being taught that there was something wrong with you, right? And so it's really, give me a second. I want to really, this is getting kind of deep. I want to make sure that I'm pulling out exactly what needs to be said. It's kind of like what I said earlier about being the adult to yourself that you needed as a child. It's almost like no matter how people treated you, what the adults in your life led you to believe, etc., that it's time to, rather than keep falling victim to that mindset, to actually stand up and become feral, right? Kind of like, oh, I thought it was right here. There's that from the, I think it's from Song of Myself by Walt Whitman in The Leaves of Grass, where he talks about, I too am not untamed. I yell my barbaric yelp above the rooftops of the world, right? And it's like it's time to reclaim that wildness, that feralness, that self-worth that so many had convinced you otherwise of. Does that make sense? Awesome. Yeah. Um, it's like, I keep seeing like this Joan of Arc, like defending, like coming to defend that inner child. And whenever the shadows of the past, of those adults coming at you, you know, pointing their fingers and taking away your power, and this little Joan of Arc coming up saying, "You shall not pass," and holding that light to those shadows and saying that you are not true, you are not my truth, you are someone else's truth, right? Like I realized a while back, for so many years, I felt like I was a disappointment. I felt like I wasn't living up to the expectations of the adults around me, etc., right? And one day, just like boom, this revelation came. It was like, I'm not a disappointment. They are disappointed. Their disappointment has nothing to do with me. Their being disappointed is a choice, and that's their path. And it has nothing to do with who I truly am, because I have never been a disappointment, right? So be that truth, you know. And I've actually been working with Joan of Arc. She's one of my guides. She's become one of my guides just relatively recently in the last couple of years. And a lot of times, if I'm feeling vulnerable, I'll call on her to surround me like armor, and I feel this like the dragon scale armor come onto me, and I feel so protected, like that armor is that space holding me so that I can just be myself. I don't have to be tightly wound and defend myself because I'm being held. Um, and so be that defender, right? Dogs, dogs are guardians. Dogs warn us of coming threats, and dogs defend us to their dying breath. That's how important you are. defend yourself to your dying breath. Not and I don't really care for the way that I said that, in that I don't mean to set it up like a war, like a battle, like every day is this battle that you have to fight and win. It's more of like Joan standing with her sword up high saying, I am not afraid. I was born to do this. So that it becomes a stance, a standing in your power, not standing against something, not defending yourself against some other force or power coming at you, but the standing totally in your power, being present in alignment, which creates that sphere of light, that higher vibration that keeps everything else away. Does that make sense? Yes, claiming your power and standing in it. Exactly. You know, if we stand against something, it's like, okay, I have to rise up to fight this thing. You're only raising your vibration. Chances are you're actually lowering your vibration to go head to head with the vibration of whatever this other thing is. When your vibration is so much higher, your natural vibration. And so it's about standing up into that vibration and knowing, trusting your intuition, trusting that you will know what's an honest threat and what isn't, what needs attention and what doesn't. And that you have that power to hold things at bay. You have that part of you, you have guardians that will stand there and refuse to let anything past them, right? Kind of like the Cheyenne dog soldiers. They there was this elite um, group, clan of dog soldiers in the Cheyenne, and they basically, when they were threatened, when there was a threat coming at them, well, all of the rest of the tribe was running away. The dog soldiers would run toward the danger, and they wore these long sashes that were so long that they would drag on the ground. And they would run toward the enemy. They would plant themselves in a certain spot. They had a spear, and they would put that spear through that sash, saying, this is my piece of earth that I will defend, either until one of my brothers comes and removes that spear and frees me, or I die. They didn't seek out to go fight the enemy. They stood their ground. They held that perimeter and said, no one will get past me until we are either free or we're dead. And it's kind of that. It's like, you are worth that level of passion. You are worthy of that level of love and honor and respect. So, you know, it might be the archangels for you, or it might be other guides or whatever, but we all have someone. Even as a kid growing up Catholic, we were all told we had our guardian angel, right? We always have somebody that's watching out for us. And when we can trust that we are being watched over, that space is being held for us to keep us safe, That gives us that much more space to step into our power, to the point where that level of defense isn't necessary because your light naturally repels anything of a darker or lower vibration. So I hope that makes sense. All right. Card number 5 for Tiffany. And in case there's anyone else that has come in the meantime that's new here, normally the way this works, the first 6 people to come in and say yes in the comments get a 1-card reading. We've already got our 6. So if you're coming in now, we're on card number 5. So you can choose number 5 or 6 if you want, or you can choose another number, and then you can watch this and repeat and see what that card says. And I promise that whichever one you choose is going to have something for you. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel or like my videos. That helps me out a lot. And also, if you would like to support your friendly neighborhood shaman, I have my PayPal and my Venmo links in the description. Just saying, I figured I always tend to leave that till the end, and then there's not as many people, and so I should probably be saying that stuff sooner. I have a hard time marketing myself, or like a lot of us do. So anyway, thank you for your presence. Nothing else. Thank you for being here with me and sharing your presence and your energy. All right, card number 5 for Tiffany. Awesome. So card number 5 for Tiffany, you're welcome, Sylvia, is antelope, pronghorn. Pronghorn, a lot of pronghorn medicine is about sacrifice, but not the sacrifice that we are taught, like me in a Catholic upbringing or even just a Christian background, that whole, martyrdom. Like I was talking earlier about, we get into that dualistic mindedness, and we think that someone has to suffer in order for someone else to do better. That is not sacrifice. That is self-mutilation. True sacrifice is not giving up the best of yourself for the sake of somebody else. It's actually more of giving up those things, those habits, those distractions that keep you from fully showing up in your power. It's sacrificing those things, and they're not necessarily even, I wouldn't even say that they're bad or counterproductive. It's just, we all have our own ways of coping with things, kind of shutting off the world. We have distractions like movies or video games or whatever, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when you get to a point where you're no longer moving forward, that's when it's time to let go of some of those, to sacrifice the things that no longer work. I was just reading an interesting article last night about how, like, even our spiritual things that we used to rely on to help us, to keep us calm or to center us in the past, might not be working anymore, but that's not the sign that anything is wrong with you. That's actually a sign of growth. And it so resonated with me because that's exactly where I find myself. It's like even the things that I used to rely on for stability, for inspiration, for perspective, um, no longer work, or at least don't work to the extent that they used to. And so it's hard. No one ever said the spiritual path was a dance to the rose garden, you know. But it's like, if you're like me, you're finding yourself in kind of this liminal space where the things that used to hold you steady, that used to ground you and center you, that used to fill you with energy and power and stuff. I'm gonna sneeze. um, are no longer feeding you. And to keep relying on them or trying to turn to them and force them to work, that's what's counterproductive. And so it's moving into this liminal space and kind of being okay with not being okay, right? Being comfortable with the discomfort, knowing that, like everything I was saying earlier about how the world revolves around you, it's like you outgrow those old things. They no longer resonate. You've outgrown them. The vibration that they were, like, you were here, and as you grew, they continue to lift you and lift you and lift you. But you've grown past them now, and so trying to go back and rely on those to hold your vibration is counterproductive because they're actually lower than what your vibration is now. And so it's about holding that vibration, sacrificing, letting go of the old ways, and knowing that by doing so, you're opening up the door, you're opening up the space for new things to come, new tools, new people, new practices to help sustain you. But that when things are falling apart, it is not a sign of failure. It's not a sign that you're going in the wrong direction or that you're doing anything wrong. It's actually a sign that you are growing. And like the story, I don't know if you've heard the story I've told that goes with Antelope about how back when the first peoples came across the Bering Strait into the Americas, which may or may not be scientific fact. Don't let that get in this in the way of a good story, right? So the people coming in, the reason that the Bering Strait was actually a land bridge was because it was the Ice Age. The oceans and stuff were lower, but it was also colder, and they come to the Americas, and at that point they were still mostly vegetarian. And so everything was frozen, they were starving, they were freezing, they didn't know what to eat, they didn't know how to take care of themselves. Antelope saw them, and he leapt in and said, "Take my hide for your own clothing, for your shelter, take my meat for your food, use my bones for your tools to dig through the ice, to make foundations for shelters, etc., etc." Because Antelope knew that he was more than the body. And he knew by sacrificing that physical part of him, not in a reckless, suicidal way, but in a, okay, this is my next challenge, my next leveling up. And so by offering his physical being, knowing that he was more than the body, knowing that that would give him a higher perspective into spirit, and then that he would be born again into the herds the next spring, it was something he could give up for the mutual benefit of both of them. It wasn't a sacrifice like, okay, don't worry about me, I'll be okay. You know, Eeyore, it was more of, okay, this is my next step. And by doing this, by crossing this threshold, by sacrificing metaphorically in the story, right, the physical being, he came into a bigger awareness of who he was as spirit. The spirit having the physical experience, not the physical being having a spiritual experience. And so it's like giving up. Like there's this woman I follow on YouTube that lives up in the Arctic with the reindeer and such. And she was just talking about how we tend to drag our dead with us. Not ancestors, but dead relationships, dead friendships, old versions of ourselves that we've outgrown, but we still hold on to them. We don't bury them and let them go. And so we're dragging all this dead weight with us. That's what we need to sacrifice to that's like the ballast. That's like the tethers holding your hot air balloon to the ground, or the sandbags that keep you just floating at one level. And you have to sacrifice those if you're going to rise higher to where you need to be. Does that make sense? And so it's allowing those old parts of us, those old habits, those old versions, those old beliefs that we had, rather than, hedging our bets and holding on to those things just in case. It's like we need to let them go, because that's the only way we're going to have the buoyancy to rise to where we need to be. And the fact that he came up upright tells me that you're already doing that. That it wasn't so much you needed instruction on what to do, but that you needed validation that what you were doing was the right thing. That you're not crazy, that you're still moving forward, that everything around you is a mark of your excellence, not a sign of going backwards. Our society tends to, when they hit a challenge, we tend to go backwards and keep hitting our head against that wall, like, why isn't this working anymore? I don't understand. If we turned around, we would see that, whatever that challenge was just opened the door for so much more, this wide expanse of possibilities. And it's by letting go, not tightening down, that we grow, that we improve, that we expand, that we come into our own power. So I hope that was helpful. We're just looking at our time, realizing I'm almost out of time, so I want to hurry things along. I hope that was helpful. So we come to card 6 for Marco. Let's see what the cards have to tell you. All right. So Marco, card 6 is salmon in reverse. Reverse salmon, to me, usually kind of denotes that a sense of kind of wandering, floundering around, having no sense of direction. Because salmon medicine is about really trusting that inborn compass of your heart to take you home. And so when it's in reverse, it's either not listening to that voice in your heart and letting the voices of the outside world drown out that inner voice. It's kind of like I speak from personal experience, like constantly seeking out the opinion of others to know if I'm doing the right thing or going in the right direction or what should I do kind of thing, rather than, like I said earlier, surrendering, coming into a stillness and quiet and listening to my heart. Because your heart is already home. You're so welcome, Tiffany. I'm glad that meant something to you. Your heart is already home. Your heart is like the what's that called? The oh, I forgot. Ariadne's thread. When in ancient Greek mythology, when Theseus was sent into the labyrinth to kill the Minotaur, Ariadne gave him this long thread, which incidentally was called a clue, which is where the clues, like as in Sherlock Holmes, came from. So that this thread tied to the entrance would lead him back after going into the labyrinth, into the maze, finding the Minotaur, and then he would be able to find his way back out again, following that clue, following that thread, right? Your heart is that thread. Your heart is what is tied to that origin point, to your original self, to that purity and authenticity that never leaves you. And so your heart is the only one that can tell you which way to go, what to do. And it's hard. It's hard to follow the voice of the heart over the voice of the world. But, you know, we think about salmon. We have these weird puritanical ideas about salmon, about they're always fighting the good fight, that they're fighting the natural forces. Again, that sense of dominion, of dominating nature and the natural ways by fighting upriver to get home to spawn. But that is not what salmon energy is about. Salmon is about trusting your own vision, trusting your own heart to show you the pathways home that are going to be unlike, kind of like I was talking earlier, those unique pathways that are special to you and to no one else. No one else can tell you. No one else has the authority to tell you what is right and what is wrong for you. What is the right direction? What is the wrong direction? You should be doing this, not that. No one has the authority to do that. Your heart is your authority, right? Because your heart is what connects you to Creator, to the divine, right? So when your heart tells you something, that's literally the voice of God, the voice of the divine talking to you. And when your heart tells you to go in a certain direction or whatever, your heart is also what connects you to all of humanity, right? We are all connected heart to heart. So, your heart, tuned in to all of humanity, has already done the calculations. And if it tells you that this is the best way for you to go, it's already checked all of humanity and done all the calculations like a supercomputer to say, this is the right way. This is the highest benefit of all beings. And that is all the authority you need. Even though others may not see it that way, and you can't convince them, and there's nothing you can say or do that will make them understand your path, because it has to be experienced. You can trust that voice, and by honoring that voice, by moving in your own direction, you actually break those old bonds, break those old spells of people. You kind of break the routine, and other people are like, what the hell is he doing? Where is he going? Wait, things are working out for him. Why? Huh. I don't know if I would have been able to do that, but look at how things, that doesn't make sense to me. And so you start to wake people up by following your path. It's not just a one-sided, selfish thing, right? And like when Salmon starts moving toward home, he's not just fighting the current of the river. There are undercurrents where it flows opposite the top water, right? And there's ebb flows and there's whirlpools, and those are the pathways that Salmon sees and follows. And when they're jumping up those waterfalls, every waterfall has whirlpools under it. And so they're not just getting a running start and jumping of their own volition to get up those falls. They're hitting the whirlpools and such underneath those waterfalls and slingshotting up those falls. Spirit is literally slingshotting them up. They're not doing it of their own because they have the eyes to see their pathway. Spirit guides them on those other currents to carry them home, right? And the other thing that Salmon has going is enthusiasm. In some Norwegian languages, apparently, I don't know Norwegian languages, but apparently the word for salmon and the word for somersault are basically the same word, or based on the same root. Because the people would watch these fish that were so full of joy and enthusiasm that they had enough energy to jump over these falls. They would watch their kids somersaulting in the lawn, and all the energy and enthusiasm they had. They're leaping and tumbling, and like they equated that same childlike wonder and enthusiasm to salmon. And so rather than being this puritanical, fighting the good fight, nose to the grindstone, got to keep pushing, it's Salmon's enthusiasm to get home that helps carry him there. You know, when you're following your flow, when you're doing what you love, when you're doing what you're good at, when you're following your bliss, like I said earlier, there's an expansion that happens, and that passion makes the time fly past, right? It's like all of a sudden, like hours have passed. You're like, what the heck happened? I didn't even eat dinner. I thought I had to pee an hour ago, right? Or you lose yourself. And it's a timeless, joyous space. And that's the space that Salmon gets into to carry him home. And so it's really about, if you're feeling lost, just joy is your compass, right? Follow your joy. Do, like I mentioned earlier, like I'm making a point every single day to draw, to work on my comics, because that's my passion. And by doing that, it's like my dedication to my path and to my purpose and to my destiny. And it's the same thing. Find something that you love to do and prioritize that. Put it on your schedule. Actually write it on your calendar. You know, block out a half hour, whatever, to do what you want to do what calls to you, and then do it religiously, right? It's so easy for those of us on these kind of paths to be like, okay, well, I've got nothing really real planned, so yes, I can come and help you. It's like, no, this is priority. This is like a doctor's appointment. This is an appointment with Creator to spend this time, to put in this energy. And like I said, by doing this and by doing that, you're benefiting everybody, not just yourself. It is not selfish to see to your own well-being. In fact, like Abraham Hicks says, that should be your highest priority, is to feel good. Feeling good is a sign that you're flowing with that river of energy from source, rather than bucking it, than fighting it. So follow your bliss, right? Like Abraham Hicks says, joy is the path of least resistance. When we're joyful, when we're doing something with passion, limits disappear. There might be challenges coming up, but that helps us to define what we're doing, not to block us, right? Like every artist works with certain limits. And there's so many exercises where I've mentioned this before, like when I was in college, I was an art major, and one of my favorite assignments, the teacher set up the still life. And the still life was totally white. There was like a skull, and there was like a white statue and some other things. There was absolutely no color. And we had to paint this, and the only color we couldn't use was white. And that is still one of my most favorite pieces of art I've ever produced. Because by setting that limitation, I'm trying to find a different word from limitation, parameter. By setting that parameter, it actually helped me focus more. And it was that parameter that helped me to see the little shades of red or the little shades of blue in different shadows, and the negative space behind it that was a different shade. You know, it's like I started not, rather than seeing the black and the white of you know, lit surfaces and shadowed surfaces, I started to see the entire spectrum of what was there. And with art and you know, like drawing and painting and art, it's really the art of seeing, right? And all of a sudden, it's those parameters that opened up my vision and made me able to see what was actually there, to see the different prisms of color that were actually there, that I wasn't seeing before, because like, oh, that's a black plane. Okay, and that space is all white, and just white and black. It's like it helped me to see beyond that mental filter of black and white, to see all the different colors that were in the light and in the shadow, And it's still, like I said, it's one of my favorite pieces I've ever produced. It's one of the favorite exercises I've ever had in my art training. So, so when those parameters show up, trust them that they are helping to focus. They're not there to block you, they're helping to focus, and that your heart will bring you home. Your heart is tied to the outside of that labyrinth. And when we get lost, it's like we have this rope and we're getting all rolled up in this rope and getting in knots and stuff like that because we're not following the thread home. We're turning ourselves in circles, getting ourselves caught up and rolled up in this thread, getting it caught up in other things. If we would just slow down, center ourselves, and just start to follow that thread back out of the labyrinth. The path of least resistance. So embrace and surrender to your greatness. Embrace and surrender to that inner knowing that's already there. You already know where home is. Allow yourself to uncover that truth. Again, like the other card, sacrifice the things that are keeping you from seeing that clearly. Whether it's people or situations or habits or thoughts, let go of anything that is not getting you closer to home. And it's like a game of colder, warmer, right? Getting warmer. Oh, nope. You're going towards something and then you turn a little this way. It's like, whoop, you're getting colder. It's not that you totally turned opposite of where you were going. You turned off course a little bit. So you're getting a little bit colder. And then warmer, okay, there's my trajectory. There's my compass. And so when things start to feel a little off, it's like the rumble strips on the side of the road. It's like, whoop, I gotta refocus. There's my trajectory. So I hope that is helpful. That is our 6th card. And so I am going to pull one more for the community, our community totem for the week that will walk the collective of us into next week. And as I'm shuffling, I just wanted to remind you again, thank you for subscribing to my channel, for liking my videos. That helps me to be seen better. Please share my video. The more the merrier, trying to get my voice out there. And also, if you would like to reciprocate, if you got something out of tonight and you would like to reciprocate in a different manner, I do have my PayPal and Venmo links in the description under the video. This is my living. This is what I do for a living. This is my livelihood. This is my day job. And so anything you wish to give me is so highly appreciated. And it's like the turkey medicine earlier, the turkey card. That reciprocity, when I get supported by you, my community, I'm better able to support my community. It's that beautiful infinity loop, right? Of give and take, of sharing, receiving, the way life is supposed to be, the way society is supposed to be. And so whatever you feel like giving, I am so grateful. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. What else? Anything else? Oh, and if you enjoy these videos and you would like to have a full one-on-one reading for yourself, you can visit my website, perchingwolfstudios.net. You can learn more about me, what I do, who I am, and you can see the different shamanic services I offer, readings and healings and teachings, oh my. And you can set up sessions with me right from my website. There's like little buttons to my scheduling to set up a schedule. I also have a contact, blah, 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 a contact page where you can contact me if you have questions or revelations you want to share or anything like that. You can contact me through that contact page. And yeah, and I would love to be there to help you heal, to help find clarity, or to help teach you, to help guide you on your own path. I teach classes, group classes. I don't have any at the moment. I was just this morning working on putting some together. But I also do one-on-one mentoring. So if you are newly awakened or you're stuck or you don't know what the next step is or whatever, I would be so honored to be your teacher to help you find your heart path, not mine. But, I come with, oh God, over half a century of experience, you know, and at least a fifth of that as a shaman to help you not to crank out clones of myself, but to use my experience to help you find your own path, to literally connect you to your own spirit guides, where you can have full-on conversations with your spirit guides, which is how it's supposed to be, right? Cut out the middleman and get the direct revelation. Even if shamanism is not necessarily your path, um, I have students that are not necessarily on a shamanic path, but shamanism helped them to find their path, to find the footing for their path. So, and I love teaching. I love my job. So I bring that passion with me, and I love helping others. I love helping to turn that light on in others, that light of realization, that light of personal power. And it's just the most beautiful thing. So, and I do healing as well, soul retrievals, Reiki, power animal retrievals, fairy doctoring, um, all kinds of healing, whatever. I'm not the one who does the healing, it's my guides. And so whatever they say is needed is what I follow. And I've been doing it long enough that I have full and total trust in them. I've had so many amazing, amazing results. Well, I shouldn't, I don't like the way it's like, I have seen so many amazing results through my working with people toward their healing. I'll put it that way. That it's just, it is so, just so beautiful. It just makes everything so worthwhile. So anyway, so those are the plugs. And I mentioned my comics earlier. I have the link to my comic blog in the comments as well if you're curious to see what my comics look like. And so let's pull the community card, shall we? All right. This came up last week. It may have been the community card last week too. But Swan in reverse is basically surrender, grace. It's rather than It's forgiving yourself whatever seeming past transgressions you've had, the regrets, the places you think you failed, and forgiving yourself for all of those, realizing, like I said earlier, there are no accidents. Everything happens for a purpose, even if that purpose is to tell you which way not to go, right? Kind of that proverbial Edison finding 1,001 ways how not to create a light bulb, right? It's all the things you've come through that add to your strength. And by forgiving yourself those thinking, oh, I should have known better, oh, I wish I'd done that differently, you did everything perfectly. You have never done anything wrong. There is no reason for shame. There is no reason for guilt. Everything that has happened to bring you to your own fruition, your own glory, your own true beauty of being this angelic bird, right? And sometimes, it's the most, how do I put this? It's the people with the worst possible past that become the most enlightened and caring and helpful to humanity, right? So it's like no matter what you have done or what has happened to you in the past, you have the opportunity, like I've said before, the present is your point of power. It doesn't matter what happened in the past. And whatever happened in the past can be utilized rather than a pitfall to keep falling into, an excuse not to step into your power, but can be used as a springboard, like the salmon hitting those whirlpools and slingshotting over the falls. All of those past things can be used in a way to bolster you to, because everything that happened has borne wisdom. If nothing else, every experience you have had has brought you wisdom. That's the pearl. And if you focus on the pearls rather than the agitation and discomfort and everything that led to the creation of that pearl, then that's how you assemble all your feathers, right? Like I talked before about this. Every single one of these feathers is a challenge I overcame. And so instead of like, oh my God, I wish I hadn't done that. Oh my God, how could I have been so stupid? It's like, no, if I came through something, I gave myself a feather. This is how strong I am. This is how many times I have succeeded rather than failed. And all of those experiences become a solid example of my strength and my power rather than my weakness and inaptitude, right? So claim your feathers. Know that you are meant for something more, right? I mean, it's the people, I have so many friends in like the goth or the LGBTQ communities and stuff that have come through so much crap, more than anyone should have to deal with, right? And they are some of the kindest, most enlightened people I know of because they were forced to do the work. They were the ugly ducklings who were forced to face and to come through things when there wasn't help for them. And instead of turning it into a victimhood, They, I see your true colors shining through. I see your true colors. That's why I love you. So don't be afraid to let it show. Your true colors, true colors. They're beautiful like a rainbow. That's what that song means. You have earned every feather. You are moving toward angelhood. To think of swan as this angelic bird that inspires just by its presence. I know if I see a swan, especially in the wild, it's like, oh my God, I just feel so healed and so inspired, right? I don't know anyone that sees a swan is like, ew, ick, right? And they're not doing anything, they're just present, they're just being. And just by their very presence, they heal everyone around them. So allow yourself to heal yourself in order to be that healing presence for the world. It's all connected. And seeing to your own healing, your own well-being, is seeing to the healing and well-being of the world. So, all right, my friends, thank you for, especially the ones who had the perseverance to stick with me to this long-winded night. I appreciate you. I thank you for your energy, for your presence, for following me. Thank you for subscribing to my channel, for following up, for seeking me out for your own readings, etc. I so appreciate you. We are walking each other home. Thank you so much. I hope I will see you again next week. Invite your friends. Please share this video far and wide. And until I see you again, know that I love you, that I see you, and that I honor you. Have a wonderful week, everyone, and go shining. All right. Bye now.